Hi, it's Kevin Levates here, and today I thought it would be fun to look at some of the comments and questions that I got on the Medium copy of an article that I published. And the article is the one about the massive NFT drop that me and Richard Piacentini performed a few weeks ago. And it's interesting because the comments on the Medium article, which is identical to the LinkedIn article that I published, are very, very different. The people there have different concerns and different understandings, and perhaps looking at the take of a different audience would be somewhat instructive. So the first comment was, having to pay to see the token is suspicious. So firstly, I'm not taking offense at that in the slightest. Making a comment like that is right. If you are presented with a new smart contract or constellation of smart contracts, you should initially be suspicious, because there are plenty of scams out there. And this is indeed one of the problems in DeFi and smart contracts and blockchains, namely that there's a lot of technical knowledge required to actually assess what's going on underneath the hood. And you need to assess what's going on underneath the hood, or somebody needs to do so for you, someone you trust, because it's very easy for people to put code out there that you click on a button and your assets are siphoned off you. So good question to ask. However, paying to see the token, that part I'm not so sure about, because any transaction on a smart contract blockchain in current systems requires a payment. This is how we overcome the halting problem in computing. If you had nodes that were supposed to be running smart contracts and the contracts could be in any form, and the programming language is Turing complete, well, then you hit the halting program, which is you can't tell in advance whether or not a specific program is going to stop. Some of them it's very obvious, other ones it's not clear until you try to run them and they just keep going and going and going. And the way that this was overcome is through gas fees, which is to make people pay for the execution of each statement, and when they run out of money to pay, then the program stops. This is the equivalent of having a car with a gas tank, and you can keep driving until the gas runs out. And having the limitation that the car does not have infinite energy means that the cars won't just keep going forever. So the payment for revealing a particular NFT in this Authorverse NFT drop is actually very, very low, and I'll get onto why that is later on in the video. Let's look at the second question. Well, it's not a question, it's a statement. You don't have to pay anything to mint a token on OpenSea. Well, this is wrong. Firstly, you don't mint tokens on OpenSea. You mint tokens on the Ethereum blockchain or the Polygon blockchain or something like that. Secondly, if you are actually going to mint a token, then you will have to pay unless someone is paying for you. And OpenSea does not pay the gas fees. That wouldn't be economically viable. They would become vulnerable to people going along and running a bot that mints millions and millions of tokens and burns all of OpenSea's Ether or blockchain currency assets. So you definitely do have to pay to mint an NFT on a blockchain, even if you do the minting through OpenSea. So I think what the writer here is referring to is what's called lazy minting, which is you can put the specification and the design for a particular NFT on OpenSea, and OpenSea will present it to the world as if it's been minted, but it won't actually go ahead and conduct the minting transaction until someone actually buys the NFT. So this is like presenting pictures of beautiful houses that haven't actually been built, and then waiting until somebody says, I want to buy that particular one, then you go off and build it. And this is kind of an insurance policy, because if no one is interested in buying it, then you don't want to spend the money building it in the first place. So that is wrong. You do have to pay to mint a token through OpenSea. Next one, it's not an airdrop if you have to pay to claim. Well, firstly, you don't have to pay to claim. The way that the Authorverse NFT contract is set up means that the token is actually there in your wallet, or rather on the blockchain assigned to the address of your wallet. So you'll see it there, if you know how to look properly, and you can transfer it. The issue here is one that I've discussed in the article and in videos in the past, which is that in order for sites such as OpenSea to know that the token exists, you have to emit a particular thing called an event, having a specific structure that OpenSea can then search the blockchain for in order to know that the token exists. So the token exists because there is a balance against an address that says that it exists. However, the notification that it exists is not initially present in the Authorverse auth token contract. And so that is wrong, because you don't have to pay to claim it, you have it already. And actually, in most airdrops, you do have to pay. Normally, the tokens, in some cases, the tokens are indeed just transferred to your ownership. And if that happens, you should be suspicious, because that's an attack vector which allows people to trick you into engaging with their contract and going to their website and connecting your wallet, and then waking up the next day and finding that all your coins and all your NFTs have been transferred out of your address to some other address. So, but anyway, you don't have to pay to claim your Authorverse NFT. It's there. You have to pay to reveal it, which is to make that notification occur on the blockchain. And the reason I did that is because each notification costs about $5 to $10 at the moment, given lower Ether prices, but it's still a bit much for me to transmit 1.5 times 10 to the 48 notification transactions for every single address at a cost of $5. There's not that much currency in the universe. Somebody said, pay gas, and I might take it as a gift. So they're basically saying, can you go and pay the reveal fee, and then I might accept it? Well, yes, I could pay the gas fee for that individual if I felt so inclined. There is actually a gift function in the Authorverse contract that is the same as the reveal function, but it allows you to specify somebody else's token rather than your own. So if you want to actually make someone else's token visible on OpenSea, you can do so with that function. But the second part where they say, I might take it as a gift, well, you can't decide whether or not you want to take it. You already have it. So the question then is, do you want to transfer it out of your wallet, or are you just going to leave it sitting there? And if you're not interested in this, or you are suspicious of it, or you don't care about it, I suggest you just ignore it, because ultimately it's just a piece of data written on the blockchain that says this address owns this thing that has spontaneously been brought into creation by that very record. And the fact that some people get very worried about this, well, I think that might be an overflow from the fact that airdrops are sometimes used as attacks to try and trick people into giving out their effectively giving other people control over the assets in their wallet. However, ultimately, you can just ignore it. If you don't interact with the contract, if you don't interact with the Web3 website, then you're going to be fine. And then somebody asked the question, can you make a video on how to participate? Well, actually, I added a few words in there to make it a grammatically correct sentence, but basically they were asking if I could make a video to explain how to participate in this big NFT airdrop. And again, the answer there is, well, you have unknowingly already, in quotes, participated. The NFT is there allocated to each and every address. The question then is, do you want to participate further? And if you do, the place to go is https://authorverse.io, and I'll put that link in the comments to this video as well. But all the information is there. There's also the article on Medium, which I'll also add a link for, and there's the equivalent article on LinkedIn. So those of you who follow me on LinkedIn, you can go and look at my list of articles and you'll see it there. You can't miss it. And that's it for today, looking at some of the questions that people and comments that people had on a different social media site, and in particular looking at how different the angle and perspective of those people is compared to the questions that I saw on LinkedIn. I hope you found that interesting, and I'll see you all in the next video soon. Bye for now.